All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's webinar, where we're going to be talking about the importance of resetting, adapting, and succeeding during these turbulent times and really building resiliency and agility. Agility is one of the core pillars of our program here at Live Prosperous, and we're so excited to have my great friend JB Spisso and Beth Shaha as some of our guest life coaches that's going to be sharing with you some specific tools, stories, and resources that can help you navigate troubled times. As you know, we're in a very hectic time frame in our nation right now. Half the country on January the 6th is going to be stressed out because they've been hearing for the past 4 years almost about the dire conditions of what's going to happen as if this side wins. And maybe it may not be politics for you. You could be going through something that's at work or at home in your marriage that is forcing you to develop the muscle of resiliency. So today you're going to be hearing from some amazing people. Mark Green, who is a former Navy SEAL, is going to be sharing some powerful stories about his tools that he leaned on in order to be resilient and in order to sort of learn that muscle of agility. You're going to be hearing from Beth, and she's going to give us a grounding exercise and some specific tools that can help you specifically with being agile. And then I love these stories and the tools that my best friend JB Spisso is going to be sharing later on today. So today I want you to sit back, relax, realize over this next 40 to 45 minutes, we're going to be giving you some meaningful information that's going to help you and your family right now. So now I'm going to turn it over to my friend Beth, who's going to be giving us a grounding exercise. And then after that, you're going to be hearing an amazing story from my friend Mark.
Thank you, Freddie. Welcome, everyone. Beth Shaha, so grateful to be with you. But I wanted to just take a moment to get us started as we come together today. Let's take a few moments just to settle in, grounding ourselves here right now in this shared space. Wherever you are, begin by finding a comfortable position. Let's just be here right now. Perhaps you're sitting upright with your feet grounded to the floor, simply noticing the support beneath you. I like to roll my shoulders back, maybe do a couple twists, a couple stretches that just allow me to kind of be right here, right now, right? Maybe allow your hands to rest gently on your lap. And if it feels comfortable, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Let's take 3 deep, steady breaths together. We're going to start by inhaling through your nose, filling your lungs, feeling the air expand your body, then gently exhale, letting go of any tension or busyness from your day. Once again, a deep inhale, filling up fully, and slow exhale, grounding you further in this moment. And one more breath, noticing the sensation as you breathe in, feeling the fresh new air. And release slower, allowing yourself to arrive here fully. Now, with your eyes still closed or a slow gaze, bring to mind the idea of a tree, deeply rooted yet flexible. Imagine those roots grounded and anchoring you steadily. You know, trees face constant change. They bend and they sway, but they rarely break. They're rooted, resilient, yet open to the shifting winds. Today, we're here to explore that same ability within ourselves, the power to remain grounded while adapting and thriving through life's changes. So take a moment to feel that stability, resilience, and readiness within yourself. And as we move into our session on building agility and resilience, let's stay connected to that feeling of inner strength and openness to change. When you're ready, bring your awareness back to the room, opening your eyes if they were closed, and join us, fully present and ready to begin. Now we wanted to share a video from our ambassador, Mark Green, on what it means to be agile.
My name is Mark Green. I am a former Navy SEAL. I served for 20 years. Being flexible, that's been really challenging, but I've learned so much from, I keep going back to my kids, but my kids they're with me all the time, and you have to be agile and flexible when kids are around, or when they go to work. It's just, everything's different and everything's moving so fast. And in a lot of these instances, I'm not a subject matter expert anymore. So I'm really learning how to navigate now. So I take every day as an opportunity to get better. And I ask a lot of questions because every day I learn what I don't know, which is a lot. So I'm just a sponge with the SEAL background and being a sniper that has a certain persona to it. But at the end of the day, I'm just this big old teddy bear that's just ready to smile and laugh all the time. But then at some points in time, I have to return to the SEAL mark, which is not always friendly, a little abrasive. But once that time passes, then I can just relax. And then I'm just always willing to learn. It's really rewarding to be in this position, to have so many people who care about me at every turn. So then I just get to relax and just be present.
Wow, that was great. Mark Green is a great warrior. But what I, like to remind the Navy SEALs is when Navy SEALs are in trouble, who do they call? Army Rangers. A little fun military joke there for all of you veterans out there. Thanks for the intro, everyone. And today we're going to talk about trusting your instincts, the gut feeling. It's not magic. It's actually something real. And it's caused by three things. I want you to remember these. It's caused from your brain, caused from emotions, and it's caused from past experiences. So that's where this gut feeling comes from. So where is it? It's the brain's ability to rapidly process information based on these prior experiences. Freddie played in the NFL. I was in the military for 26 years, and there were situations that he was in and I was in that we just understood that. And maybe a young soldier came up to me or a rookie came up to Freddie and they're like, "How'd you know that?" And Freddie might say, "Well, because I've seen it before." So you're trusting your instincts. So it's the subconscious mental shortcuts that the brain develops. It's patterns. And so I want you to understand that because it's a secondary nervous system. It's a network of neurons that actually come from the gut. So sometimes you'll be feeling it in your stomach, but it really comes from your brain. So the more experiences we accumulate, the better our brain comes then at detecting patterns, leading to what? Stronger instincts. For example, a doctor develops clinical intuition over the years of practice. When Freddie was lining up against a defensive back, he could use his experience to say, well, this guy generally does this or that. Same thing from my military time. So it's pattern recognition. And when you face similar situations before, the brain subconsciously detects that pattern and gives you this instinctual guidance. I remember getting off a helicopter with military soldiers behind me running towards a target. We didn't quite land where we were supposed to. And one of my men said, "Left or right?" And I went left. And it ended up being right. And it was a little bit lucky, but based on my experiences, I said, well, if I was the opponent, the enemy, I would do this. So I went at where I thought they would be more vulnerable. So that is where I want you to understand. The other thing about this is high stress can interfere with making good decisions. Who wins at a casino? The answer is nobody. But you see people go in there and they cash their paycheck at the casino. Yeah, casinos actually do that. They give you a meal voucher and someone will take their hard-earned week pay and they'll throw it down on the roulette table or the blackjack table. Because this anxiety, this emotion, it takes away from making good decisions. So you have to have practical application of using your instincts. In your decision making, it plays a significant role. It helps you problem solve. And leaders often rely on gut feelings when the logical data alone doesn't provide a clear answer. You look at the data and you say, you know what, something just doesn't right. So when should you trust your instincts? Well, first off, you should trust them based on your relative experience. You've been through that situation before, you understand it, your instinct tells you one thing. Also, when that logical reasoning feels incomplete. So you need intuition for that. But remember, instincts can be flawed based on a past experience. If you were bitten by a dog at 5 years old, you might be like, I hate all dogs. Well, you have a past experience that leads you down that path. So you need to balance instinct with logic, with managing your emotions. First thing you need to do is take a pause. Something's coming your way, unless it's a high stress situation and you're trained for that. Take a pause. In the military, we call it a combat pause. You have more time than you think. Give yourself the moment to let those situations, those emotions subside before making a decision. And then evaluate those triggers that maybe make you get upset. You have to continue to develop your emotional intelligence, what we always call the EQ, that helps you control your actions. So when you're trusting your instincts, it's valuable in decision making. It gives you a chance to strike a balance, to listen to your gut, remove emotional interference, pause, reflect, validate, and gives you a chance to make a decision with reason. I'll share an experience with you, and I don't think I've shared this with anybody, even in our team yet. But I took a job with a professional sports team, and I was in the executive staff, and it was going through the contract process. Things were just bothering me about it. I didn't have a good feeling about it. And then when I initially said, I'm not sure it's for me, they actually offered me more money. So I used the money as a reason to talk myself into it. Now I went there, and let me tell you, the people were great, but it was an extremely difficult job for 2 years that I probably shouldn't have taken. So it wasn't the work. It was just the environment and the culture and that sort of thing. So my point is, I'm telling you is listen to what your gut's telling you. Trust your instincts. And you know what? It's okay to even ask for help. Seek a mentor. Like, I wish I'd have known Freddie back then, because I'd have called Freddie and be like, Freddie, this is the deal. What do you think? And he would have given me his professional opinion. So again, I'm going to go back to what the gut feelings made out of 3 things. Who can remember what they are? Your brain, emotions, and past experiences. You know what? And every good day is a great day. Keep moving forward. Thank you, Freddie.
That's awesome. So now we're going to hear another practical tool from our friend Beth. She does such an amazing job of breaking things down as a life coach in ways that we can apply to our life. And building this muscle of resiliency is so important, because over the course of time, as JB was saying, we have to be willing and able to adapt, adjust, change, but also understand what's fueling us and how are we processing the information. So now I'm going to turn it over to Beth as she gives you, again, more practical tools that help you build that muscle of resiliency by being agile.
Thank you, JB. I love your stories, and there's so much to learn from them. We all have stories and experiences. And I'm wondering, maybe something came up for you when you were listening to JB. How in touch are you with your intuition? When has it guided you to do something or to not do something? How often do you use your intuition to stay aware and to stay awake in moments? This intuition is a gift to ourselves, and it can help us to kind of go with the flow. And this helps us to remain ready for life's twists and turns. But sometimes our thoughts can get the best of us when we're dealing with change, uncertainty, maybe feeling rocky, and just trying to navigate the world around us. This cloud comes in of a thought. This comes in and really does stifle our agility and our resilience. I want to share a couple slides with you as we talk through tonight, and just kind of think through, what does it look like to navigate your thoughts with acceptance? Right? This is an important piece. When the external world begins to throw us things, we can begin to believe things about ourselves. And am I working hard enough? Am I working too hard? Am I a good spouse? What does the world say about how I parent? What do I believe in? What am I being told to believe in? What do I stand for? Am I living my purpose? And sometimes in the quiet, is there more to this than I'm really experiencing now? Am I missing out? Is the world telling me, am I enough or am I not enough? When we think these things that the external world has given us, we often feel stuck, lost, or paralyzed. Our thoughts are so powerful, and we have the choice to believe them, maybe struggle with them a bit, or simply notice them. So let's take a moment to work through this a little bit. I want to share with you a tool called acceptance commitment therapy. And this is simply looked at as ACT. It's developed by Stephen Hayes. It encourages us to not fight or repress difficult thoughts, but to change how we relate to them. It is simply being with our thoughts, just like this image shows, and allowing them to come and go without judgment. I realize that this can be difficult when they're fused into our being, but there is hope, and we're going to talk about that a little. Our thoughts don't have to dictate how we live our lives. And a part of ACT, there's something called cognitive diffusion. And cognitive diffusion is a helpful tool to see our thoughts as thoughts. It really does enable us to see them for what they are, passing words or images, but not always facts. So instead of being stuck in thoughts like I'm useless or I'm not enough or am I an imposter, we practice saying I'm having the thought that I'm an imposter. And this creates distance, so we're less likely to let those thoughts control our actions. To see this more clearly, I've created this image to show us how cognitive diffusion works. And I use this with my clients a lot. So take this little guy, he's feeling pretty grumpy, and he's having the thought, I am useless. So he has this cloud, it's clouding his intuition. It's not allowing him to move forward because he's simply feeling I'm useless. By the frown on his face, you can tell he's feeling pretty sad about it. He is fused with that thought. And when we have a thought that comes in, what is one of your limiting beliefs? Maybe think about it for a second. Jot it down. So, I'm useless. I'm not enough. I'm failing. I'm an imposter. Whatever it is for you, write it down and fuse with that thought. In fact, maybe even say it to yourself 3 times. I'm useless. I'm useless. I'm useless. Boy, that makes us feel grumpy, doesn't it? So I'm going to encourage you then, after you've said this, I want you to just change the wording a little bit. So instead of I'm useless, let's say I'm having the thought that I'm feeling useless. I'm having the thought that I'm feeling useless. I'm having the thought that I'm feeling useless. All of a sudden, we're kind of like realizing, okay, it's just a thought. I'm noticing it. It's up here. I'm seeing it. And maybe I'm not so fused with it that it's clouding me completely and taking complete control, but I'm still feeling it and I'm seeing it and I'm not quite sure about it. So then the next step in this 3-step process is to simply say 3 times, I notice I'm having the thought that I'm useless. I notice I'm having the thought that I'm useless. I'm noticing that I'm having the thought that I'm useless. right? Essentially, what happens is we move from feeling so fused and unhappy with that thought, I'm useless, to I'm having the thought, to I notice I'm having the thought. And I have used this over and over and over again in my own life, as well as with my clients. And, I'm going to ask you, try this. For thoughts that come up for you, notice how when you fuse, you feel tense, maybe even belly is nauseous, you feel shoulders kind of coming forward, you feel put upon in a weight. But then notice how you move through it. Not just does your mental space clear, but your physical sensations lessen. It's truly a remarkable tool, and we can use this at any given time. This tool, this acceptance commitment therapy and cognitive diffusion simply says, I am going to create distance. So I'm less likely to use, to let these thoughts control my actions. And I'm able to see it without judgment. And that judgment that keeps us stuck. So sometimes when I do this, I'll even end up laughing because when I say I notice I'm having the thought that I'm useless, I'll start laughing a little bit and I'm happy and I'll think, how silly is that? Because at the end of the day, oftentimes our thoughts make us think things that sometimes we kind of have to say, well, isn't that silly, right? We can laugh at it and simply let it go and let it just be a thought that's happening, right? So I'm going to encourage you to do this. Just try it as much as you can. Another practical tool is to look at this by way of metaphor, right? So if you will, just hold your hands up to your face, your palms facing you. If I do this, you can't hear me very well. And have them face you as if they're representing your thoughts. Notice how hard it is to see everything around you when your hands are so close to your face. This is what it feels like to be fused with our thoughts. They cover us, they overwhelm us, and they suffocate progress. Everything gets filtered through them. That's all we can see is what's in front of us. So now, lower your hands. Your thoughts are still there, but now you have distance. You can see and engage with the world, and you can just feel more clear. That's cognitive diffusion, letting thoughts be there without letting them control your focus. So as we think about these tools, I just want to encourage you one more time to just kind of think about your own world and how this might impact you when you're dealing with change, trying to be resilient in this world. And I'm going to share my screen one more time. And I just want you to think about these questions. Is holding on to this thought helpful? Is it causing me suffering? Am I being pushed around by my thoughts? These questions help us notice when we're fused with unhelpful thoughts, so we can decide to diffuse with ACT, with cognitive diffusion, with a metaphor, and focus on what truly matters. So the next time you're feeling paralyzed in a thought, unable to move forward, unable to hear that intuition from within, look at what thoughts could be in the way. And whether you notice the thought and use the 3-step process we talked about, put your hands to your face, these are things you can do, right? These are tools for your toolbox to help you remain agile and resilient, regardless of the world around you. It's hard sometimes when you're going through life, but when we step back and we see thoughts as temporary, it creates space to act in ways that align with our values. And isn't that what we really want? To show up as who we truly are, to live the way we want to live, to speak about things the way we really feel, to be who we want to be, right? Like being in your authentic space, listening to that intuition, using gut checks, which JB is going to talk about in a minute, and really using these tools helps us to align. So that the next time we're in this difficult space and we're feeling a little overwhelmed, we're going to create that resilience and we're going to create that clarity and we're going to say enough is enough. And I want to navigate my life's challenge with greater ease. And I'm going to do it with just simply using these tools. So let's go back to JB as he helps us further our learning with the gut check.
All right, everyone. We talked about the gut check and where that comes from. So as you're going through all this, you have to pause and reflect on what you're truly feeling. Take a step back, gain clarity. Take a deep breath. If it's not urgent, no need to rush. Still be there tomorrow. Sometimes we so want to make decisions so quickly. We get an email, a text message, and we're like, we have to respond right now, or we might upset somebody. No, that's not the case. Reflect before acting. And I also think that make sure that you reach out to a mentor, somebody you can trust, somebody outside of what you do, to say, hey, you know what? I have this or this opportunity, because you want to make sure it's not fear holding you back. This is the best part of what you do. Your decisions have to align with your core values. If it doesn't align with your core values, then it's not right. And fear is the problem because it's the what if scenarios. Because, like, what if I try this opportunity and it doesn't work out? Well, then it doesn't work out. So nothing's guaranteed, but many times, if you don't try these opportunities, you'll never know of what you can accomplish. And if you're on these before, we always talk about comfort zones, right? Everybody's happy in their comfort zone. You go to the same store, you go to the same coffee shop, you go to the same gym, you go to the same restaurants, you talk to the same two people, whatever the case may be. You don't grow. And when your comfort zone is small, it only becomes smaller. But by stepping out of your comfort zone, then it becomes larger. And then it helps you with your instincts. Because remember, we talked about, for your instincts to really work, you need experience. And then at the end of the day, trust that intuition. Trust what it's saying to you. But I also don't want you to overthink it. And I put in the chat there about the paralysis by analysis, because we always want to have all the answer. Well, we never do, right? Because when you're out there, when when Freddie was playing football, the opponent, they had a vote in what happened to him and his team. Same thing with me and fighting the enemy. The enemy they have a vote into it. But you have to trust that you're putting in the work to get there. So go through this one more time. You want to screenshot this and keep it. I think this is super helpful for you. Thank you once again. Let's go.
Gosh, JB and Beth, I absolutely love what you shared. And I'm just processing a lot of this right now. When you think about your thoughts, controlling your thoughts, how your thoughts influence you, sometimes your thoughts control you. And so if you are like me, and sometimes your thoughts run away and take over. One thing I absolutely love in what was shared here, something that was reminded as Beth was sharing, is that your life cannot exist beyond your thought life. You and your thoughts are one. And so taking the time to process, what am I thinking? And why am I thinking that? As opposed to allowing those thoughts just to dominate you and dictate how you feel and what you do, ultimately gives you control, allows you to be flexible, to be agile, and to adjust, and hopefully be able to make a wiser decision based on your values and not based on your fears. And so thank you again, Beth and JB. That was absolutely amazing. I'm going to go to a couple questions here that we have from our audience. And so, JB, I'm going to throw the first one to you. How can I begin to hear my intuition? I don't even hear it. So you're talking about intuition. How do I begin to hear that?
Well, Freddie, it's a great question, and it's a real thing. Remember, it's all connected to you. So when you feel yourself unsettled in a situation, you have to take a minute to think about that aspect. Why am I feeling this? Whoa, what is that? It's no different than, of course, if you're over the age of 21 and you've ever, went to some establishment and you might have went into a bar and you walked in there and you're like, okay, I am not supposed to be here, right? Your intuition just said something's not correct. It's the same thing if you're going on a road trip. Do you stop at the the big gas stations or the little small ones off the beaten trail? No, you don't. Your intuition says, let me go to somewhere that's well lit. There's a lot of people. It's probably more safe. So your intuition's always there. I would just encourage this person with this question to take a moment to think about it. Sit quietly with yourself. If you feel something going on, sit quietly. There's too much noise everywhere. We talked about this last time, Freddie. Stop, look, listen, smell. SLLS. Stop, look, listen, smell. Take a moment, and you'll start hearing that intuition. And remember, as long as you continue to gain experience, that intuition will be louder.
That's awesome, JB. Thank you for giving so much clarity with that, especially for those of us that might be questioning that intuition. All of us have it. We all have had those moments of something told me, or I feel like I should. You have it. The question is, will we align ourselves and position ourselves to quiet ourselves to hear that voice? It's almost like back in the day when you had to have the radio and you're driving on road trips and you lose the radio station from the city that you're in, and you have to keep turning that dial in order to get that fine-tuned signal. Or for those of you old enough to remember the rabbit ear TVs, right? Where you have to sit up there and you have to move it all around to get and adjust to get that perfect signal. Many times that's what's happening in our life. Our life can be so busy, so hectic with all the external pressures and stress and things that can try to weigh us down that keeps us from being able to hear that still small voice, that ability to be able to hear what our values and what our intuition is saying, as opposed to what those outside voices, fear and anxiety may be trying to do to influence us. So I encourage you to, first of all, assess what is feeding your thoughts. Do you need to fast social media? Do you need to fast certain people that are feeding you wrong information? What can you do to not only make sure that you're processing your thoughts, but that your thoughts are helping to position you to make the wisest decisions that you can, so you can be as agile and resilient as possible. I have, JB, I think I've got another question here for you. All right. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, what are ways you can tame the negative thoughts?
Great question. Those negative thoughts coming to you and pound you. I can't do it. I can't make it. And what you need to do is just narrow your focus. If you're working on something, you're doing a project, you're trying for a competition, you have to narrow your focus. You have to shorten your timeline. It's easy to, start in school and you get your class list and you're like, oh my gosh, I got 3 of these classes and this. Listen, make it to lunch and just make it to dinner. Freddie and I both went through different types of selections, very difficult. Live to fight another day. Make it to that next day. Don't worry about if you're going to get cut. Make it so they have to cut you, right? Because you're working so hard. If you just keep yourself in that conversation. You have to start in your brain by talking winning thoughts. You need 3 positive thoughts for every negative thought. You have to pound it. You got to knock the negative thoughts out. So I can't do this. Yes, I can. Oh, I just did 10 push-ups today. I just ran from here to here today. I just read 20 pages in my book. You have to overwhelm the negative thoughts. And that's how you do it. Negative thought comes in, overwhelm it with 3 positives. That's what you have to do. Write it down if you have to. Put it on a Post-it note. Every time you do something successful, put it on a Post-it note and stack it up. When that Post-it note is 5 inches high, there's no way you can tear that. So you have to overwhelm it with that. Doesn't mean every day is going to be a good day. It's not always puppies and rainbows. Sometimes you're going to get kicked in the teeth, not literally, hopefully, but you got to just keep grinding it forward. You got to grind it forward. You got to do it with a great attitude. I'm telling you, it's hard to be. I ran a military selection And I want to tell you, in the military selection I ran, if a kid kept coming forward every day, kicked in the teeth, and every single day the kid kept showing up with a great attitude, that's a hard person not to have on your group. So that's what you have to do. Outnumber your negative thoughts with 3 positives.
You know what? As you were saying that, JB, that is so powerful. I want you to take a moment and think for a second. Can you remember the first negative thing someone said to you? And if you're like me, I can think back to what that teacher said, what that coach said, the jokes that kids said when I was in middle school or high school, maybe even elementary school. It's amazing that those negative thoughts or experiences are still there and sometimes will drown out all the positive things that you may have also experienced. So being intentional with what JB said is being intentional with, if there's one negative thought, drown that thing out with so many other positive thoughts to help you. And again, be where your feet are. There's one other question that I'm going to take here that sort of is connected to what JB just shared. And I'll answer this one. It says, everything is a lot right now in this world and in America right now. How can I feel peace in such a time of change, and possible turmoil? So with all the chaos that's going on, how can I feel peace in the midst of everything going on around me? Well, I'll say what I heard Coach Tomlin say this, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and many other coaches in the league say it, but it's simply a simple quote that says, be where your feet are. Be where your feet are. Well, what does that mean? You can't control what's happening outside you. You're in one of two situations. You're either evaluating a situation that you can control, or there's a situation that you can't control. Don't stress out about the things that you can't control, because stressing out about it isn't going to change it anyway. But if it is something that you can control, that's where you focus your energy and your time. So if there's stress and chaos going on around you, first ask yourself these 2 questions. What are the things that are going on around me that's life draining and sapping energy from me? And then 2, what are the life-giving activities that I love to do that give me life, that refuels me? I know one of the things that helped my wife and I is, my wife is an extrovert and I'm naturally an introvert, which by nature means she gets her energy, she gets refueled by being around other people. I am the opposite. I like going home. I could be home and just be a homebody and just recharge by being away. Understand your thoughts, understand your wiring, and what are the things that can refuel you. So even though it may be chaotic around you, you can have intentional times, either daily, weekly, or monthly, of things that you know you can do that can recreate an oasis and help recharge you in the midst of what's going on around you. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you can control. We can't control necessarily what happens in the election. Hopefully you'll participate in that, but we can't control how people respond. What you can control is how you process what's going on around you, your thoughts about that, and making sure that you keep yourself in a positive mentality by doing things that recharge and refuel yourself. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I want to say thank you to Beth and JB for giving such meaningful, practical, and relevant advice and some extra tools in your toolbox that can help you be more resilient, process your thoughts, and make sure your thoughts are a tool that help you, not something that's driving your actions and behaviors. Until next time, this is Freddie Scott on behalf of the entire Live Prosperous team, just telling you, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you again next time. See you soon.